Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Andy, and in today's video I'm going to be giving y'all some pieces of advice on navigating your 20s. So I'm currently 23 years old. I definitely still have a lot to learn, a lot to experience, but I find myself constantly thinking about my age, not like in a negative way. I'm actually really excited to be 23, and I think it's because I know I still have a whole future ahead of me. I think at some point we've all had somebody in our lives tell us, oh, like, take advantage of your youth, or they've told us you have to live your best life now, like right now is the moment. I just feel like these phrases sometimes can be a little confusing because yes, you know, you want to live your life to the fullest, but you also want to be making smart decisions. So like, what is that balance? I've just been thinking a lot about what is that right balance between having fun but also making smart decisions for my future self. Recently, I noticed that I've been stressing myself out a lot because I tend to overanalyze any decision that I make in my life, whether that be a personal one or a financial decision, because I'm always thinking about my future self, like how is this going to impact me? However, upon reflection, I think a lot of us are taking our life a little too seriously. I do think it's important to take our life seriously, but not too seriously. Taking your life seriously means that you're aware that your experiences and the decisions that you make have an impact on yourself and your future. But it also means that we're conscious that a lot of things that happen in our lives are out of our control and we shouldn't punish ourselves for it. So that leads me to my first piece of advice, which is being open to change. I think that we can all agree that no matter how well you plan your life, life has a way of just throwing curveballs at you when you least expect it. So that just means that we need to be open to change. What I mean by being open to change, I mean being open to new job opportunities, being open to new friends, being open to having a new mindset. It honestly can apply to a lot of different things. One of the big things is being open to a new mindset. In life, we're constantly growing, which means our mindsets are constantly changing. For instance, as young adults, we definitely don't have the same mindset as we did when we were younger. Not to be too dramatic, but I think a lot of us don't even have the same mindset we did a year ago or even 6 months. Especially in your 20s, you're going through so many new experiences, you're absorbing so much information, so your mind's always changing, which is completely normal. I feel like it's really important to be aware of this, especially so we don't feel bad when we have to let go of past beliefs or past practices that no longer align with us and our values. Accepting a new job opportunity or letting go of a friendship can sound really scary and intimidating, but remember that change is always good and it's what helps us grow. So change definitely is not easy and it's uncomfortable, but if you're open to it, change will be much easier to handle and your future self will thank you. My second piece of advice is recognizing your strengths and weaknesses. I feel like we've all heard this before, but seriously, it's so important to be able to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. Nowadays, we go on the internet and it seems like everybody's so good at everything, but it's important to remember that we all have our limitations. Once we realize that it's impossible to be good at everything, we're able to embrace our strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so I think it's much easier to embrace your strengths, right? And I'm not saying, hey, go embrace your weaknesses. Like, yes, I'm so proud of being terrible at this or that. No, what I'm saying though is to recognize what we're not good at and just accept it and move on, unless it's something that you really want to become good at or it's necessary for the career path that you're taking. But if it's not any of those and you're just frustrated at yourself that you're not good at it, for instance, I'm not really good at math and I used to be so hard on myself for it. And I would kind of envy people who were really good at it. I'm like, why am I not good at it? But honestly, it doesn't matter. For the career path that I chose, the basic math that I know is enough. So honestly, it's okay that I'm not ever going to be a professional at math. And I think for a lot of us, there's a lot of stuff we're not good at. But if it's not going to help you in your career or anything else, it's okay that you're not good at it. Try to embrace your strengths. If it's a skill that you want to improve on, then by all means, work to get better. I think that as individuals, we all have something different to contribute, and ultimately, that's what makes us all unique. Moving on to my third piece of advice is take risks. We've definitely all heard this before, but this is your sign to take risks. It's not until most recently that I've realized that a lot of the decisions that we make in our 20s are just a bunch of trial and error. There's so much more room for mistakes right now that we're young as opposed to later when we have more responsibilities. I feel like a lot of people in this age want to move to a new city, and I think that if you want to move to a new city in your 20s, it's like the perfect age to do it. If you have the opportunity, then do it. You might be wondering if it's the right decision or not, but honestly, you won't know until you actually move. And ultimately, if it ends up being a fail and you realize, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to live here, you want to go back home, then you can go back home. But now you won't be living with regret of like, oh, what would have been if I would have gone? And it takes an emotional toll on you, honestly. Like, you're going to stay wondering what would have been of your life if you would have moved. And it can also be that move can be everything that you wanted, and it can drastically change your life. But you'll never know until you take that risk. I just think it's so important to not live life with regret. So whatever you're thinking about doing, you should do it now because there won't be any better timing. I think that taking risks also applies to career paths. Let's say you're in school and you really dislike your major, but you're already going to be a senior, maybe it's your third year or whatever, and you wish you could have done a different major. Honestly, if all it means taking 2 more years of school, it's so worth it in the long run because you're going to be more fulfilled and more satisfied. But I feel like a lot of us have this pressure of like, you need to finish as fast as you can. But in the long run, what's going to matter is you being happy. So if it means taking a few extra years to really do something that you like, I think it's completely worth it. This also applies to jobs. Let's say you've been working at a company for a while and you really dislike your job and you want to try something new, then by all means, try something new. I think it's important to try out different jobs to really find out what you're best at and what makes you feel really happy and fulfilled. Or let's say it can also be the case that you finish school, you have a degree, but you actually don't like working in the area that you got your degree in. Just because you have a degree in a certain major doesn't mean you're limited to working only in that area. So you can definitely experiment. I feel like a lot of people feel like they're tied to what they know, but honestly, you can try different things. By not taking risks, a lot of people miss out on so many experiences. I think it's so important to go out of your comfort zone, especially if you have a lot of aspirations in life. You want to make sure you're taking action on your wants. And just because maybe you made a bad decision or maybe you change your mind about the things that you want to do in the future, like, it's okay to take a different path. And like I said, ultimately what matters is you being happy. In the long run, those extra years that you did to change a career path or anything like that, it's not going to matter. My fourth piece of advice, which is actually my favorite piece of advice on this video, is to never be embarrassed. I remember when I was young, I used to think that when I became an adult, I would no longer make immature decisions, everything, like I was just going to be so wise. But that's not true. I still make a lot of silly decisions, and I'm in my early 20s, and I don't have my life together at all, and I do some embarrassing things sometimes, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. If anyone is ever judging you for your actions or your embarrassing moments, honestly, this just means that they're way too focused on you and not on themselves. This is a problem with them and has nothing to do with you. This is nothing new, but let me remind you, as humans, we're all imperfect and we're just prone to make mistakes. Being embarrassed means that you care what another person thinks about you, and we should not do that. When I've made some silly decisions in the past, my real friends have never made me feel embarrassed. My family, I don't feel embarrassed with them. With people that I respect, I don't feel embarrassed. Like, if you feel embarrassed in front of somebody, like if it's a stranger, one, you shouldn't care because they're a stranger. And if it's your friends making you feel bad, then maybe you should really question whether or not they're your true friends. I feel like in a lot of cases, embarrassment is what holds a lot of people back from doing the things they really want to do. People say it's fear, but honestly, for a lot of people, they're afraid of being embarrassed. And the only thing it does is hold you back. So just remember that. So my fifth and last piece of advice is let your thoughts roam. I know this sounds really easy, but seriously, give it a try. Letting your thoughts roam is especially helpful when you're feeling really lost, I feel like a lot of us don't know what we're doing. Like, no one knows what they're doing with their life, honestly. But you can learn a little bit about yourself by letting your thoughts kind of be free. One way you can do this is by getting off your phone and experiencing boredom. I know, like a lot of us don't like being alone with our thoughts, but this is really when you get to know yourself. The uncomfortableness that comes with letting your thoughts roam gives you an opportunity to really listen to yourself and your wants. I don't know, but give it a try. A lot of us also don't realize that in your 20s, our health and our energy levels are all at their peak. Like, you're never gonna be this young again, right? And so if there's something you really want to do, then do it. Along with that, we also have the most time than in any other period in our lives to really explore our interests and take action without any consequences, before we take on more responsibilities. I just want to end this by saying that you're in complete control of your life. And I know being in your 20s is not easy at all, but I hope this video was helpful. That's all I have for y'all. Thanks for watching. Bye.